It's Saturday, the 12th of August 2017, and let's talk about racism. Yes, well, everyone's got very, very strong opinions about it. Everyone avoids it like the plague. No one wants to talk about it, so let's do just that, shall we? Discussions, opinions on racism will always and invariably divide opinions and attract a lot of passion and emotions. What I will say here are views of mine alone, but I'm aware that I'm about to put them out in the public domain, so I'm up for some abuse or accolades, whatever you wish to send my way. I will tell the truth about racism as I know it. I have observed the various facets of it, the nuances it carries, the emotions, the perceptions, the myths surrounding it, its effects, consequences, complexities, subtleties, the tragedies, the comedies, the works, and it'll be hard to keep it simple, but I'll do my best, and in the process, I might dip in and out of areas I feel relevant. Dealing with race and identity issues is hardly simple. It's not a walk in the park, so how long have I got? Maybe 15 minutes or so. So as a person of Indian origin living in Britain, have I experienced racism? Hardly and almost never overtly in my 3 decades or so here. I mean, no one goes around calling people black bastards anymore. They used to, unless they're drunk, insane or stupid, and thus entirely irrelevant to be offensive. So do racism exist in today's Britain? Yes, of course it does. I'll have to be living in cloud cuckoo land to deny that. Hardly, so is it bad? I don't know what constitutes as bad. And here it obviously gets subjective. Okay, I want to revisit that statement I just made. Yes, it is bad because all racism is bad, however subtle it might be. And oddly enough, I think it's the subtle ones that hit you harder. So I live with, happens to be a white English woman who's my wife. I have 2 daughters who are of mixed heritage, so I try not to engage in polarized narratives, as I believe it does nothing to the cause of eradicating racism. I mean, naturally, I protect myself and my environment, and I will continue to do so. I mean, I had to live this whole business of tribalism the moment I placed my daughter, I remember, from a white mother in the palms of my hand, and from that moment I was desperate to protect her, from setting one half of them in conflict with the other half. And from that moment, my battle, or should I say, our family's battle, took a very different shape of, am I free enough to think as an equal, to be an equal, and to be able to freely tell my daughters that they symbolize equality and oneness. So, it's a tough one. I mean, it's easier to have an external enemy, but when the battle turns inwards, you're up against yourself and, and your own character defects and how those defects, sort of drive your own perceptions, and often faulty perceptions. Well, all that doesn't mean that I've become impervious to racism. I can assure you that if I get a whiff of it, I will sniff it out. On the other hand, I'm also unwilling to create an enemy of people who have done nothing wrong apart from being of a different race. Something just like me and you, they haven't chosen either. So let's continue. We will all agree that, nothing hits you harder, in your gut than to be in the receiving end of discrimination due to the color of your skin. I mean, you can scream, weep, despair, become a jihadi, or beg to be an equal, and these in the end would come to nothing. Because such reactions almost always play into the very hand of the process that would disempower you further. I mean, racism works as long as the perpetrator and the victim stick to their own boxes, And protestations, are part of being in the box of the victim. So the irony, you see the irony in it. The minute I say you're oppressing me, I'm oddly validating the fact that you're in a position to be stronger or better than me. Why did I let you do in the first place? Well, nothing can influence what a white person thinks of me, or for that matter, anyone thinks of me, Oddly enough, I have more of my own race who have slandered me more than my white friends and acquaintances. I have no control over any of it.
What are you doing then?
I'm just doing my vlog.
Oh, what's it on?
It's on racism. Do you want to say hello to my audience?
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, that's our dog. That's a dog's interruption. So Jane.
Yeah.
Okay, quick word to my audience. Face the camera here. Do you think you're a racist?
Well, I've married you, and what I see is a wonderful man.
Oh, bless you. Okay, I think I'll let you go now. Oh, that was an interruption. So anyway, so what I was saying. So you see the irony in it. The minute you protest, and the minute I say you are oppressing me, I'm oddly validating the fact that you're in a position to be stronger or better than me. Why did I let you, in the first place? I mean, nothing can influence what a white person thinks about me, or for that matter, anyone thinks of me. Oddly enough, I have more of my own race, who have slandered me than my white friends and acquaintances. I have no control over it. So the point I'm making is, it is far more important to scrutinize whether or why I might feel less than why a white person might feel more than me. I mean, tackle this and you enter a realm of a whole new paradigm of self-awareness and self-respect, than trying to control on what you can't. I mean, what does the white person think of me? What if the answer is that's not favourable to my ego? What can I do about it? Nothing. So am I deviating here? Not really. I'm only shining the torch back at myself. Okay, let's go back and look for the big bad racist again. Okay. Do the average white Englishman or the English woman think they're superior to someone of colour? I mean, I'm using a softer term here, superior rather than racist. Just feeling a touch kinder today. So, are you ready for this answer? We all know that the answer should be no. But ask a white person and they will scream no till they're blue in the face. And there may be a very decent chance that they mean it too. But the truth is, an unequivocal yes, they do feel superior. Mostly. Now, I have to really stress on the last word, mostly. I have to be honest with myself here. Now, having said that, it'll be really unfair to overlook a few other things. It is more to it than just calling people racist and walking away from the issue. I mean, let's examine why might they feel superior. And I will do a quick run through 5 points, and we might just get that bit closer to the truth after that. The point number 1, the minority issue. I mean, it is tough to be a minority. Minority of colour, sexual orientation, language, culture, disability, ability, gender, politics, name it. I mean, it's hard to be the odd one out. I mean, nothing more visible than your colour. I mean, it's a biggie, isn't it? Here the process works both ways. The odd one, as say me, is bound to feel slightly isolated, scared, defensive, sensitive, blah, 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 all perfectly natural. On the majority side of things, there will be a sense of feeling strong in numbers. Again, perfectly natural. I mean, in the West, an average sample, there will be 95 out of 100 people who would represent my skin colour. It's simple as that. I have to deal with it. In rural Oxfordshire, where I live here, I might be the only one with a darker skin in a 10-mile radius. It is what it is. Issue number two. is the colonial past issue. I mean, this is a big one. So here I am with my past masters. I eat, I sleep, I drink, I laugh, I work and play with them. I love them, I care about them, and sometimes I fall out with them. They have loved me, they have looked after me when I was down, they have laughed and cried with me. Their forefathers, incidentally, have also treated mine like slaves, robbed them, hurt them, and done evil stuff to them, and a list of which is longer than, anything you can think about. So that's the truth. So who do we blame for it now? Here I will pose a question to all of you who come from a once colonized nation. Say, like me, your origins are in India. How would you feel if you travelled half the world and found they all spoke Hindi, wore kurta pajamas to work and sang bhajans in the morning, or played kabaddi and worshipped cows, had pictures of Lord Ganesh in their living rooms, followed the institutional formats in all aspects? Trust me, you wouldn't be stewing in shame and guilt, In fact, you'd probably be rather chuffed at the strength of your race. I mean, I would. I'm just being honest, I mean, the cruel irony is we are working within the very template we inherited from our past rulers. There are no easy ways out here. I don't propose all South Asians, Africans and Latinos start speaking Esperanto, start wearing tutus, demolish all judicial, political and educational infrastructure, and reinvent themselves overnight. It can't be done. Reclaiming that identity that was erased over a period of hundreds of years won't happen in a single day. There's nothing no one can do about this. The further we go away from the point of severance, the less will be its power on us, on both sides of the story. And the good news is we all have already come a long, long way. Point number 3, the economic issue. And I will keep it simple. I'll keep it brutally simple. Black people are poorer than white people. Period. They represent the poorer nations in their origin. Dark skin equals third world. Painful to hear that? It is the truth. We have to get over it. We are the migrants in search for better lives. Oh, yes, we are. I mean, there are anomalies like the Gulf states, etc., Japan and Korea, but they are exceptions rather than the rule. So if you wish to come to the white and wealthy West, what do you expect? The people will put you on their laps and stroke your hair and thank you for enriching their lives? Sorry. It's not a fair world. No one's that kind. But you come with £1 million to splash around in Harrods and it becomes a different story. So be prepared to be looked down upon because you have less. And that's the rule in every society, isn't it? Point number 4 is colour prejudice within the ethnic minority groups and within those societies. Well, we do like to be pointed out of our own, we don't like to be pointed out of our own failings, but we are quick to point our fingers at others. So this is a classic case here. I know South Asian and African communities are unashamedly prejudiced towards darker skin. Oh yes, they are. I come from that place. I know it. I was at a loss to explain all the billboards staring down in Indian streets, flogging skin-lightening products to my wife and my daughters. I heard someone justifying it recently in the media the other day with some sort of a pedagogical twist, like using colour consciousness, as if it's something less harmful than racism. I never heard a worse bullshit than that in my entire life. I mean, let's look into our own societies first, before we jump on others. I mean, nothing weakens an argument on equality than hypocrisy. And point number 5, and that's the last point, is cultural differences. It's an obvious one. People of different races can be hugely different from each other in other respects too. These differences do exist even within the second or third generation migrants here. And that's how it is. I mean, Jane and I are hilariously different. And as much as love and good motives lay the ground rules in this household, we have to work very hard to preserve our harmony. And being different sometimes doesn't work. It is bloody difficult. So I have spoken at length about racism, particularly in relation to my experience as someone with a darker skin in the UK. In summing up what it has been, my life has been as an Indian in the UK. In the Brits, I found some of the brightest, wittiest, and the quirkiest, and the most eccentric of people, delightfully eccentric of people. I've also met one of the fairest of people, without a doubt. And that's not the whole story, of course. I mean, Britain has its share of bigots and nasty creatures too. Yes, and they all happen to be, too, the sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters of people who had once, enslaved our forefathers, looted our countries of origin, and did, quite frankly, unspeakable things. Et voila. We do have a task of living with each other. So how am I here? How is my life here? I am really content with my life. I mean, I really am. I can't lie to you. And then again, it's nothing to do with any external references, but attributable to my own and my very personal journey in its entirety. I mean, that's why I have kept banging on about self-empowerment throughout this conversation. In terms of retaining my identity as an Indian, while I don't fly the Indian flag from the chimney stack of my house, I try and be as good, if not better than anyone in what I do. I carry my Indian face. I speak openly, warmly, and positively about my country of origin, but I don't feel the need to be rubbing it beyond that. People around me know where I come from, and the door to my house remains open to all who wish to come here, and it'll always remain open. And of course, I'll get flack for being westernized from one side of the fence, but then I can't please everyone. At the end of the day, none of them will ever pay my bills, nor will do my day's work, or haven't got a clue as to what living like me in my shoes is really like. Well, I'd also stick my neck out here and say, there are people, if you wish to cling to your mother culture and mother country so much, why leave it in the first place? For money and for the good life? And there goes your patriotism out the window then. I have found love and belonging here. And this has been home for a long, long time. It's likely to remain the place where I'll spend the rest of my life. And, it's not been the easiest of things to do what I've done with my life, but it's the one I have chosen for myself. And there you have it. The whole deal. That is my life in Britain. There are statements and opinions on race and identity and culture and migration a dime a dozen. And there will continue to be. I mean, it's up to each of us to scrutinize the choices we have made and to find our own truths. I mean, it's up to each of us to establish how we carry our skin, black, white, oriental or brown. I mean, it is a poignant responsibility for all of us, and whether we are playing at home or away. I mean, there is this mess with race, and it's a big mess. And it also involved the native whites being ambivalent in their expressions too, a result of pickling in post-colonial guilt and living in a politically correct culture that makes them terrified of being perceived as racist. So if you're white, for goodness sake, be assertive on people's behaviour irrespective of colour, and not being so screws things up even more. Look what happened in Rotherham. Look what happened yesterday in Newcastle, a couple of days ago. I mean, of course, in 100 years from now, we will not talk of race and identity in a way we see it and talk about it today. It'll morph into or replaced by some other form of power play of one group over another. I mean, we humans are pretty good in finding new ways to divide us as a species. Thank God, I mean, I wouldn't be here to see it. And crossing nations and culture, it's both a privilege and a nemesis. It'll both haunt you and bring you endless rewards. It broke me and it has made me. And I'll round this up with a quote from an American writer called Tilly Olsen. Really poignant. And it goes like this. It's a long baptism into the seas of humankind, my daughter. Better immersion than live untouched. So on that note, I am off to live the rest of my day. And listen, be happy. Okay? Remember, no one else can do it for you. And no one else can steal it away from you either. So let's go and get on with it.